Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Can you hear me?
Yes, here's
Yeah.
you.
We are going to have the panel discussion of the day on day 2, track through the spirituality and business management. The panel discussion topic is going to be management of inner self and to integrate the spiritual quotient for the business firms to enable them to be more value based and to have great ethical outcome. So that is the main panel discussion topic. So now our panelists are TERESA de Grosbois, Marian Head, and LAURIE Seymouur, along with grandmother Parisha. And to begin with, I would like to ask TERESA, how exactly spirituality is useful for one's business growth? Because spirituality is altogether a subjective phenomena. It is inner journey, while business is all about achievement. While spirituality talks about attainment or attunement, business talks about achievements and success. Where spirituality is absolutely a subjective phenomena, inner phenomena, internalized phenomena, business is altogether a reality of social world, a three-dimensional reality. So how do you actually balance this attainment and achievement?
It's a beautiful question. It's a beautiful question because I think historically we would have thought of business as all about results and all about achievement and therefore being in a different world than spirituality. And anyone who owns a business will tell you, you know, it's 50% process and structure and you know, plans and you know, having a strategic plan and an operational plan. But it's also 50% knowing how to respond in the moment to what's in front of you. You know, one of my favorite expressions is luck is where opportunity meets preparedness. And opportunity can be a very spiritual thing. Are we ready internally to see opportunities and jump on them? We're now living in an age where we see some of the wealthiest people on the planet, like Ray Dalio, who owns Bridgewater, New York, is considered, I think he's in the 50 top billionaires on the planet, going on interviews on national TV saying, if you want to be a billionaire, meditate daily. Because if you can't see the opportunities when they come in front of you, if you can't trust your own intuition on what to do that's going to have a more positive outcome on the world, because if you're not having a positive impact on the world, which is the core of spirituality, no one's going to give you money anyway. I mean, you can fake it for a little while, but we're now living in an age in society where the public is responding to who you are for the world. And therefore, spirituality and business are becoming more hand in hand by the day.
Beautiful, very beautiful expression, Teresa. Thank you very much. Now, as you know, Siddhartha Gautama, let me take a name of Siddhartha Gautama because this name has got a very mutually contradictory meanings. His mother coined his name as Siddhartha. Siddhartha means in Sanskrit language, Siddhi means one who achieves. So that my son should be a great emperor and he should be a great achiever. So once he left his kingdom, he became a Buddha. Buddha means one who has attained. So what his mother coined as achiever, he became totally a different phenomena called as attainer. So, okay, just for some more inputs. And here with, I would like to invite Grandmother Parisha to continue the discussion on the spirituality business management for Laurie Seymouur. Over to Grandmother, please.
Thank you very, very much. And Teresa, it's so good to see you. After many, many years, I've been following and tracking your work, and it's been fantastic. So I appreciate so much how you have actually seeded many people to actually exploring success. One of the things I think that you make very clear, and I do have a question about that, when we come to actually meditate and explore the whole purpose, let's use the word purpose, of why we are here. And then I have so many spiritual people, and especially dealing with my own indigenous community, that feels that money is evil, that it comes with the selling out of one's values or all of the particular superstitions around money. But when we, and how the many of you, especially all of you on the panel today, it has been extremely exciting for me, because I do manage to provide and to actually generate while I still hold the position that I feel I am in my spiritual life. But with what you do, Teresa, is I like how you put it into when we discover ourselves, that we then begin to find the pathway to that wealth and that abundance. I think so often we forget that when we use the word prosperity, we are talking about spiritual fulfillment. We are talking about the unlimited abundance that's all around us. One has to develop the inner path to the self to find that, right? And so you give that to us. But right now, with everything that's going on in our world, and we still have particular locations in our world, my humanitarian work constantly keeps me 24/7 moving. What would be the greater impact that you think that we can have on communities? I've tried developing a number of projects, like something to help them begin within themselves to be self-sustaining. When we come in to teach them how to begin to discover their own ability to do that, what are some of the particular thoughts you have that we can actually enhance people's self-worth, self-value, and self-discovery with abundance?
That's a beautiful question. I love so much of what you're saying, Grandmother Parisha, and it's a joy to see you again too. I follow your work nonstop. Because you're right, money is just a tool. Money's neither good nor bad, evil nor holy. Money is simply a tool for how we move energy around this planet, right? And yet so many of us attach so much meaning to what money is, you know, and personally, I've been having my own breakthroughs for money, because when we originally created the Evolutionary Business Council over 10 years ago now, it was originally a grand experiment. Like, could we have an organization that was all about creating influence to cause change in the world? And could we have an organization that was all about helping the people that really want to stand for having their businesses create transformation in people's lives, create a conscious, sustainable world? Could we have an organization that helps them grow their influence? And it worked really well at first, until my own business started to suffer financially because the EBC started to subsume my own business. And all of a sudden I realized this is no longer sustainable, the growth of this organization, because money is missing in the equation. And the leaders of the organization went back and looked at it, and we went, you know, the same challenge we're having in the EBC is the same challenge so many of our members are having. We're trying to have impact and influence without money as one of the predominant tools to help us get there. Why didn't we see that? We're business owners. We should have seen that. And you know, once we got past that, a little bit of self, recrimination, which again, we're humans, it happens. We started to see, okay, if we really want to help the grassroots movements out there, the businesses that want to cause change, that want to cause transformation, we've got to found the Evolutionary Business Council on 3 pillars: influence, profit, and impact. And if any one of those pillars is missing, then we don't have the traction that we really need to have to change the world. So in summary, what I would say to your question is, if we want to help change the world, help the leaders who want to have impact in the world, the people who see some grassroots movement they want to do, or who see some issue they want to take a stand for in the world, help them have more influence, profit, and impact. And that's what creates the tipping point of a conscious, sustainable world that works for everyone, as Buckminster Fuller used to say. Well, and is still quoted as saying all over the world.
Well, you've just given me exact proof of what I've been actually working at. If you find the strong ones and the ambitious are the dedicated ones, they usually can bring in the fold of the rest that are very questionable about it. And how do you
My early mentors used to say, push the rope in the middle, the ends will eventually follow.
Yes, I hear you. That does work. It really does work, doesn't it? But in the field of spirituality, and I look at North America with all my many, many travels, to where in North America, we're more commerce, maybe conscious, that we feel the need to actually have our own ability to support ourselves financially or create financially a base to build from. And I find in dealing with many, many countries, and I know you're well traveled with this as well, all of you are, that how do any one of you answer to the question that it's spirituality, like in Dr. Yugandhar's position, my position, and everything that we're doing? People feel that that should be totally financially free. There's no responsibility to it. Yet in what I've been taught, you measure the value of something to you by your generosity. So actually that we would fund, or we would donate in order to actually account for our sense of responsibility or exchange. And today I find it even more so, and we've already encountered that with this program and event. How do you particular handle it when people really feel that it's very unspiritual to discuss what we might see as a need to support or donate to? Where's your thoughts on consciousness? So that, are we getting any better at that we realize each of us do have a responsibility to support and help something grow that we believe in, that we know can help?
Yeah, I love this question. In fact, Laurie Seymour and Sam Leibowitz and Sam Leibowitz runs Talk Radio New York. We're just talking about this topic a few days ago at an event they were leading. And, you know, I really do believe spirituality includes money, because money is one of the primary sources for how we move energy around this planet. Think about that for a minute. Yeah. It's like the, you know, when they use natural gas to heat homes, they actually put something in the gas so that it smells, so you can tell the gas is there. It's a chemical called mercaptan. Money is like the mercaptan for how we convey energy around this planet, right? So when you think of money as not spiritual, you're basically saying, how we move energy around this planet is not spiritual. What? Let's think about that for a moment, shall we? Because when good people, the heroes of the world that really want to create change and want to create impact, resist becoming wealthy, resist becoming billionaires, resist becoming influential because they've got inner dialogue that stops them, what's at stake is we end up in a world where only the sociopaths of the world have the power, the influence, and the profit to truly move money around this planet. And is that the world we really, really want? I say it's the responsibility of leaders and business owners who are conscious to start to control the wealth and start to control the influence, because then we can have the world we really want to live in.
Can I tag on that?
Yes, you can, Laurie. And wonderful.
Please, Laurie has a lot to say on this topic. I'd love for her today.
Very good. Laurie, I want to say before you respond to anything, your presentation was absolutely magic, okay? As you spoke and you shared, there's so much. I'm going to make sure that your presentation gets to a lot of what I'm considering very hardcore resistance to the fact that we do have to develop spiritually to have the sense of real wealth. Money can pass through us, but we don't feel wealthy until within us, the wealth is what we're breathing and what we value. So you did that beautifully, and I want to thank you for that. Now, please share. what you were going to say.
Thank you. Thank you. And what a beautiful way that you just expressed that. You know, for me, money is love in the physical. So we have in the metaphysical, we talk about love, we experience that energy of love. In the physical, for me, it's money. And that doesn't mean that it's a binary kind of exchange, but that there does have to be an energetic exchange. Otherwise, we're running on empty. We're not acknowledging that there is a continual flow always in the universe, always. And if we're part of everything, why would we not be part of the expression of abundance in that physical way with money? Now, if we try and hold on to it, if we try and control it, we've done the same thing. We've done the same thing that we're criticizing others for, which is you're putting too much focus on money. So it's not that the love of money is the root of all evil. It's that control of money. It's that wanting to grasp at it. But when we realize that we're also a steward of that which comes to us, of abundance, and that the only way that we can have abundance and to be abundant is to allow that free circulation. So we're going to look into the world and we're going to see the places where there's need. And I know in myself, because I grew up with a mother who only knew struggle. My father died when I was really young. We didn't have money. And so that struggle carried me forward. That struggle was there in my DNA. And so what I've had to learn is how to be generous, how to be generous, because if I want to receive, I also have to be willing to give. And in the United States, the holiday of Thanksgiving is coming up next week. And the Thanksgiving, the giving thanks is a circulation. It's just like the breath. If we acknowledge our breath and the inspiration and the exhalation, Thanksgiving is that way. Abundance is that way.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I come from a community and was raised in that community for 20 years of believing that money is not something that it comes with an evil and a greed. And I'm still working with that in my native communities. But at the time that I'm looking at that, and when I go back in memory for as young as I can possibly recall, we always showed our appreciation by generosity. We trade. The business of barter and trade was, of course, the means and the ways of how you did that back in those days, right? And yet today, when we see barter and trade, we no longer can trade horses, blankets, potatoes, meat or anything. Now we actually have a simplicity of exchange that we call a dollar bill or a piece of paper in whatever country you're in, that states a value. And in that we express now that I give it to you, maybe all I have is blankets, but maybe you already have 20 blankets. And so when it comes to barter and trade, I'm going to put upon you another blanket in order to have what I need from you. I see the simplicity. And of course, I go to another spiritual place with it. Money is paper, and that's the trees. And for me, trees is life and the very breath of my essence. So whenever I see money, and again, I go to the numbers that resonate. I mean, I get really out there, okay? I can go way out on this. I look at the numbers, the particular symbols on it. I read everything in different people's paper and their money exchange. But for me, I try to teach them that this is just a different level of barter and trade, to where it's more convenient. Maybe I don't have the product you need, yet I need what you have. And if I give you this exchange, you may go then attend to any need you have. And it seems to be very hard to get away from the ear tag on it, that it's greed, that we've attached such greed. And I believe that there's legitimate cause for that, because there have been people who have used it purely as power to destroy and actually be very harmful. But we have to really get over that. And I feel what you ladies are doing and what has actually been shared with our particular celebrity here today, John Martina, I think that there's so many people out there today that has so much wonderful information that you're trying to take that illusion away. I know extremely wealthy people, way beyond millions and billions, okay, that are so generous. If I come to them with a project and I need anything, I don't simply come with a figure. I just simply say, if there's anything that you could assist with. And I'm always blown away with how much they put forward to that, because they give from where they want to give. I don't say what I want or what I need, but to give from where they want to. And I don't find anything but generosity in it. And what I think that Therese and you all have shared is most of the people I know that are wealthy have come to self-realization to get there. You know what I'm saying? That many, many years ago, you're talking 40, 50 years ago, when Napoleon Hill was talking about, he wrote a book about tap, 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 that you have to tap that inner path in yourself. And we're still carrying that, aren't we? We're still developing that. And the way that you all have presented this, as far as I can see, you've taken out the threat. What you're saying makes so much sense. As we value ourselves, so do the world, and so do the experience of our world become greater and more beautiful. So I understand, Laurie, when you say money to you represents that happiness. What I practice and do, and I love doing this, I'll go out into the world, like in different countries, and I roll up a little bit of money in something and I stick it in my purse and I walk around. And when I see someone that is not able to actually acquire what they're looking for, very anonymously, I arrange with the merchant to make sure they get it. And I do that to instill in them the faith that there is a greater love in the world than just the poverty that they're suffering. And that's been my way into my own realization, because you have to realize you cannot live 20 years in a community labeling money evil and not have some of that get in your mindset, right? So I've had to work through my own thoughts of how money is manipulative and so forth and on. And in that, I feel today, you all have given me a lot of great tools, and that I will carry a lot of that forward. And Maria, I want to say that I love the aloha message. You cannot say that word without actually, see, we all break out in a smile, right? You cannot say aloha and actually not feel our hearts come up. And I feel that everything you shared, especially with the particular poster that you've offered, I definitely will make sure that I let people know about that. And I can only say to all of you, and I'm so happy, Dr. Yugandhar, that you asked me to join you on this panel today, because business and actually trying to help people understand that the suffering of starvation is a horrible way to die and to live life, and that we can change that. And we can change that by everybody realizing, as they become productive and pursue their whole inner voice, that then the things in the abundance of the very energy around us, if we go to the science, is possibilities. And we choose those possibilities to survive and thrive in a much greater sense of love and light. And you all have given us that very, very, very beautiful today. I appreciate so much that you've come.
So, Marian, a question for you. In the present world, when people are chasing after money, they have ignored the other dimensions of wealth. The word wealth came from Latin, wealth, W-E-L-T-H, wealth, which means well-being, basically. So other dimensions of well-being are totally ignored. The other dimensions of abundance in terms of knowledge, abundance in terms of health, abundance in terms of relationships, abundance in terms of love and harmony. How money is one more dimension of this abundance has been dominating the other dimension of abundance, and how we can actually enhance the other dimensions to make it a totally wholesome being. This is what we want, right? That is the purpose of this theme. connecting spirituality and business management, how we all really awaken this abundance consciousness among one and all. Marian, please.
Thank you for the question, and thank you all for this very rich sharing. And I use that word rich for a purpose. First, I'd like to add something to the previous question, which is, and perhaps it answers this to some degree also. When people say negative things about money, I have heard, and I have repeated many times, it's so simple to say, you know, in my experience, the people who have the money that people have make them more of who they already are. It's a simple statement, but it's provocative. And if we look around, the people who have a lot of money who are generous become more generous. And the people who have money who were greedy are greedier. So it's just part of the energy of who we are. It expands us. It expands who our authenticity, as Dr. John Martini said. So, and what Dr. Martini said also was that in this place of grace, when we can integrate the opposites, that's where we can really make a difference in our collective consciousness. So it's up to us to see all of life's aspects, including the money and the meditation and the giving, the generosity, our health, being in nature, all of it as one, all as the dance of life. I remember being interviewed once when I was at the top of one of my businesses, and it was important to some people to be number one, like the top. And in that interview, I said, you know, there are other things in life that are so important to me, my family, being in nature, whatever. And they wound up titling the article, "Number One in Balance." Okay. So, okay, I got to be number one anyway. And in the business world, you know, we do put, some do put priority on money, but I have a couple of friends who are out there doing really, really good work. And one of them, I just love the name of his company. It's Generosity Wealth Management. So he's in the business of helping people grow their money, but he's in the business of doing that because he wants people to be wealthy enough that they can be more generous. So it's a wonderful combination. And then my husband and I helped to seed another company that is called, I love the name, Regenerous. Regen R Us is how it's spelled. And from the beginning, they embodied the idea that everything they were to do would serve the good of the whole. You can see it on their website right away. It would serve the good of the whole. So from the beginning, before they made $1, they made a commitment to give a certain percentage from their gross proceeds to whatever was needed out in the community that month. So it's not one thing that month. They've helped the firefighters in California, you know, wherever the need is. And where they source their products from, the source also has to be doing that, also has to be giving back, also has to be regenerative for the earth. So there's ways that we do internalize our highest values, and then that's the way it shows up in life. And so I think we can only do it through example, Dr. Yugandhar. I don't think there's there's none of this finger pointing or wagging. We can only do it by example and show the joy for me, when I was making a lot of money, I was in high joy and I was in high service. It was amazing to me at some level, but money has never been an issue for me. I grew up on a farm, a small farm. My father was a hard worker, my mother too, and she went off to work when the kids went to school. So we didn't have a lot of money, but one day they said to me, don't ever steal anything. If you want it badly enough, we will get it for you. That was, like the stories that have been told earlier, very influential in my life. It was like, oh, there's enough that if I want something badly enough, I can have it. And that's how I live my life.
It's so beautiful. So very beautiful. I'd like to ask one more question of you all. In my work and watching how things have developed, you have a lot of schools of thought. How do you feel about the particular teachings that actually say to people, you cannot make money your goal when you're starting out and pursuing wealth, that to actually determine that your goal is money, that it somehow deters whatever the other parts of the development has to be? How do either one of you feel about that?
Couldn't agree more. It should not be your goal.
Okay.
The outcome you want to have in the world should be your goal. And yet money is a good measure of whether or not you're actually changing lives. Because unless you're actually mobilizing people to take action, we talk about this distinction a lot, the distinction of mobilization in the Evolutionary Business Council, especially in our certified master trainer program that we run. Because there's a lot of people out there teaching insight, right? Which is powerful in the world of transformation, but it doesn't cause transformation. If insight caused transformation, there would be no obesity on this planet, because the entire planet knows that all you need to do to lose weight is diet and exercise. The entire planet knows that, and yet they're not taking action on what they know. So until people take action, transformation doesn't happen. And money is a great measure of whether or not people are actually taking action on what the change you're trying to enact in the world. So if people aren't paying you, it's very likely that you're not actually doing anything that's really actually causing significant change.
Okay. I find that in Teresa, in looking at that, what I have come to learn to do, getting past my own resistance to money as a means or a particular goal. Okay, like I said, I have 20 years of influence of no money, just trade, barter, and move from your heart. But I have learned today that with everything else that I have come to know in my 80 years, is that I trust the source that I work from, and that I've made that connection now in myself, that I no longer actually focus on whether I can make something happen financially or not. I know I do what I know to do, and then I allow the abundance to show itself. If the abundance doesn't come, then I go in and ask myself, where am I at with that? I feel work, because abundance to me is all around us. There is no scarcity. I mean, when you learn the sciences of the spirituality we're teaching, we know that there is no lack or a scarcity of anything, right? And so I've come to trust that 100%. In coming together and joining Dr. Yugandhar in this World Parliament activity, I have come to find a love in him that I am so very peaceful with at the time. As we've begun to work with this event, we've had to look at the many challenges that such an event brings, okay? And one of the things when we started discussing how we're going to finance everything, he and I would discuss that back and forth. And it was a learning curve for me to see how he feels about the particular way we can proceed with this. And on one occasion when we were discussing, which we have had to, okay, simply asking our speakers to give us $10 to actually meet the expense. We had 4 speakers drop for that reason. To me, those speakers had no need to be at our event anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so yes. I understood that it comes from within us to support and to give to that we believe. And so when we come across other countries, like we will now be going to Africa, I can't even think of the words of love that I felt for Dr. Yugandhar when he said to me, grandmother, these people have been hit very, very hard economically in their country. We cannot ask anything of them. We have to make this whole program free. This is a man who I believe believes like me, that we can trust what it is we work with that will help us get through the challenge of this, not to omit the practicality of what you all are helping us understand. In ourselves, we have to develop a means to contribute to that. But I also know that in everything we've seen happen and what has actually been able to go this far, with the beautiful people in India behind the scenes and the team that we're working with, we're all on that particular link right now, that we're being carried forward, not just by our own mind and will, but we're moving forward with something much greater than any of us or all of us together that is helping us get this message out, that this is the time. This is the time for us to actually realize if it is up to us. If not now, when can we all put our gifts together and actually make our world a better place and more people? Yes. And so you ladies have given that to us in such a way. You've helped actually bring light to a difficult subject. And a difficult way to look at it. Does one dedicate themselves to making money, or is money the outcome of what you've dedicated your life to? And right now I feel that what we're walking on, especially the energy that Yugandhar and I are creating, we're walking on faith that there is a greater love around us that's going to make sure we reach the people who we need to reach. And the three of you coming on is such a gift, because business is one of those areas that people reject as spirituality. You've brought absolute spirit into it, and it's been so gracefully done. And I think the power of the feminine and the nurturing of the mother has helped you bring your voice forward. And I am so very grateful, so very grateful.
Thank you so much, grandmother, for stating that so beautifully. Because you are doing this from your own connection with Source, abundance has to be part of it.
Yes, it is. It is. Thank you so much.
Beautifully spoken.
Yeah. Thank you, grandmother, for wonderful inputs, magnificent energy from all our wonderful ladies here, Teresa, LAURIE Seymour, and Marian. So anything to say as a final message, Teresa, Marian, and LAURIE?
I'm inspired to say one thing, and it ties to all of the conversations we've had on this panel, and it ties back to a lot of what Marian said earlier, which I just loved. Just brilliant, brilliant stuff, Marian. And that is, there's so many in the transformational movement that don't notice they might be inferring that the emotions we think of as contractive are bad, you know, yeah. And so a lot of us buy into this whole belief system that grief is bad, greed is bad, anger is bad. And yet, when you think about it, emotion is part of us. And when they talk about true enlightenment as being effable, maybe true enlightenment is the ability to choose what emotion best serves in this moment and be in that emotion. And so when we start attaching money to things we think of as negative emotions, how are we hindering the world in becoming more enlightened? Maybe there are moments that greed is one of the best emotions we could ever have, because greed can build a university or a hospital, you know? And so I think when we start to get really conscious about choosing our emotions and choosing our tools and noticing that money is just a tool, that's where the true power lies, in being spiritual beings that can really be forces for change in this world.
And it also says, Therese, that we live in the field of duality, don't we, in the third dimension? And without greed, we would not know fruition. We would not know abundance. Exactly. So I was raised to think as a circle, and in a circle, there's no sides, but always in the circle, sitting opposite of you, is what it is you're measuring yourself by. So if we did not understand what the element of greed actually represents in its negative, nor could we get past it to the positive. So your point is absolutely powerful. Thank you so much.
I love
I have a
that.
very
Beautifully
short story I would love to share. Oh, I'm sorry, Teresa.
Please.
Oh, I was just saying beautiful. Go ahead, Marian.
That was. It's so important to me that we be examples of, well, we'll go back to Gandhi's statement that started us off today, being the change we wish to see in the world. So when I was in sales and my family went to visit the top income earner for this particular company, we walked into his house, or we opened the front door, and my son, who was young at that time, maybe 6 or 8, maybe 6, looked through that house out to his pool and his tennis courts and the cliff over the ocean. And my son went, wow, he must help a lot of people. So that touched me. I wanted to share that with you. You're all so beautiful. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Any final message, Laura Seymour?
Just thank you. Thank you for allowing us to speak to such an important topic. And grandmother, I so appreciate the guidance with which you have framed our discussion today. Appreciate that so much.
Thank you so very much. You're very gracious.